What if I told you that a cartoon family from Springfield predicted 9/11, a global pandemic, and the exact moment America would lose its mind over a TV presidency? Yeah, I'm talking about The Simpsons. For over 3 decades, this yellow-skinned, four-fingered family has been doing something that's honestly kind of unsettling. They've been showing us the future, and I don't mean in some vague, well, anything could happen kind of way. I'm talking about specific, weirdly accurate moments that make you wonder if the writers have a time machine hidden in Matt Groening's basement. Here's the thing. The Simpsons has over 750 episodes. That's a lot of content. So sure, you could argue that if you throw enough darts at a board, eventually you're going to hit a bullseye. But some of these predictions, they're not just bullseyes. They're bullseyes that were drawn on the board years after the dart was thrown. Now let's talk about something darker. In 1997, there's a magazine cover in the background of an episode. Lisa's holding up a pamphlet that says New York, with the Twin Towers next to a big number 9. Put them together and what do you get? It looks exactly like 9/11. This aired 4 years before the attacks. People have tried to debunk this as coincidence or people seeing patterns where there aren't any. But man, when you see that image, it's hard not to feel a chill. Here's where it gets weird. In 2000, there's an episode called Bart to the Future, where Lisa becomes president. She's dealing with a budget crisis and mentions that the previous administration left the country broke. Who was that president? Donald Trump. This was 16 years before he actually ran. 16 years before anyone seriously thought a reality TV star would sit in the Oval Office. The writers have said they used Trump as a joke, like the worst possible scenario for America. Well, joke's on them, I guess. Remember when everyone freaked out about Apple Watches? The Simpsons beat them to it by 20 years. In a 1995 episode, people are wearing watches that also work as phones. They're talking into their wrists like it's totally normal. The Apple Watch didn't come out until 2015. So either The Simpsons predicted wearable tech or Apple designers grew up watching way too much TV. Here's one that hits different now. In 1993, there's an episode where the town gets sick from a virus that spreads from Japan. The whole city goes into panic mode. People are scared to go outside, and there's mass hysteria. Sound familiar? Nobody knew what a global pandemic looked like back then. We hadn't lived through SARS or Ebola scares yet. But The Simpsons showed us exactly how the world would react 30 years later. Let's talk about something that seemed impossible until it wasn't. In a 1993 episode, Marge and the kids are watching a magic show in Vegas. The performers are named Gunter and Ernst, and during their act, a white tiger attacks them on stage. 10 years later, in 2003, Roy Horn of Siegfried and Roy was attacked by a white tiger during a performance in Vegas. The parallels are so specific that it stops being funny and starts being creepy. Then there's the horse meat scandal. In 1994, the school cafeteria worker is stirring a pot and says, "More testicles mean more iron," while adding mystery meat to lunch. It was a gross-out joke about questionable cafeteria food. But in 2013, a massive scandal broke across Europe when people discovered horse meat was being sold as beef in schools and supermarkets. The Simpsons called it 19 years early. Here's one that's almost too perfect. In 1998, there's an episode where they show the 20th Century Fox logo with a little sign underneath that says, "A division of Walt Disney Company." At the time, this was pure satire. Fox and Disney were completely separate. The idea of them merging seemed absurd. It was a joke about corporate greed and Disney buying everything. Fast forward to 2017, and Disney announces they're acquiring 21st Century Fox for over $70 billion. The Simpsons literally predicted their own corporate takeover 19 years before it happened. They showed us the exact company that would eventually own them. And because of that merger, The Simpsons now lives on Disney+. They didn't just predict the future, they predicted themselves into it. So what's actually going on here? Are the writers secretly time travelers? Did Matt Groening make a deal with some kind of cartoon devil? Or is there a more reasonable explanation? Some people say it's pure coincidence. When you create over 750 episodes with thousands of jokes and scenarios, you're bound to accidentally nail a few things. It's the infinite monkeys with typewriters thing. Enough random predictions and some will stick. Others argue it's not prediction at all. The satire. The Simpsons has always been about taking real trends, real fears, and real cultural anxieties and pushing them to absurd extremes. When they showed Trump as president, they weren't predicting the future. They were commenting on celebrity culture and American politics. When they showed a pandemic, they were riffing on existing virus fears. The show doesn't predict the future. It reads the present so well that the future catches up. But here's what really messes with your head. Some of these predictions are so specific, so detailed, that coincidence feels impossible. The tiger attack, the 9/11 imagery, these aren't vague trends. They're specific visual moments that came true years later. Maybe the real answer is that The Simpsons has been on the air so long that it's become a mirror. We've all grown up with it. The writers have spent decades observing American culture, politics, technology, and human behavior. They've created a fictional world that's so deeply connected to our real one that when reality shifts, Springfield shifts with it. Or maybe it's the other way around. Either way, the next time you're watching an old episode and Homer does something ridiculous or Lisa predicts the future in a throwaway line, maybe pay attention. Because somewhere in the writer's room, someone might have just written the headline you'll be reading in 2030.